Jessica with Southern Sparrow. Let's talk how to play 3-player Mahjong. We've all been there. We've had a plan to play regular 4-player Mahjong and then one of our players can't show up. We still want a Mahj. Here's how you do it. There are 2 ways to play 3-player Mahjong. One is by the National Mah Jongg League rules as set forth in their book, Mahjong Made Easy, and the other is with a Charleston. I will teach you both ways right now. So, if you're playing by the National Mah Jongg League rules, it's super simple. You have no Charleston, no courtesy pass. You will deal in tiles to your 3 players, and then you start the game with a discard. And you play the game just as you normally would, but with no Charleston and no courtesy pass. That's one way. The house rule, and it's a super common house rule if you want to play with 3 players, is to include that Charleston and a courtesy pass. Personally, I love a Charleston. It really helps me to be a more confident player. It helps me to select what line I'm going to play. Typically after the deal, I know exactly what section I'm going for, but the Charleston really helps me to hone in on a line on the National Mah Jongg League card, so I hate to ditch it. So when you're playing 3-player Mahj, if you want to incorporate this house rule, here's how you do it. I've already dealt out the tiles. Here's our East seat here. We're going to set up for the Charleston. So everyone has their tiles. You don't deal in your ghost. She does not get tiles on the deal. This is the cleanest way. There are lots of ways that I've seen people handle the ghost's tiles. This is the cleanest way to do it, and let me show you how. You're going to then pull from the ghost's wall each of the passes. So you're going to pull right, over, left, left, over, right, and I like to pull 3 for a courtesy pass. Obviously, you may not always use all 3. If for some reason you stop the Charleston after the first 3 passes, or you end up not courtesy passing, those tiles will just get built back into your ghost's wall. And in fact, as you pass with the ghost during the Charleston, you're going to build the wall back. That's why this is the cleanest way to do this with a 3-player Mahjong that does have a Charleston and a courtesy pass. So, as we Charleston, we're each obviously going to follow the same passing order that we use in a 4-player game. We're going to go right over left, option to stop, left over right, and then a courtesy pass. So we're each going to pass 3 tiles at a time. As it's our turn to pass to the ghost, we're going to pass into her wall. As it's our turn to take from the ghost, we're going to take from the front of these passes that have already been pulled out from her wall. So as the Charleston is completed, these will go out to different players, and those players' tiles will build back the wall so that by the end of the Charleston, you just have this singular set of 3 tiles that's available for courtesy pass. And then those 2 players will do the courtesy pass. So that's how you Charleston and courtesy pass with a ghost in a way that rebuilds this wall so that you're ready to start the game right away. And then when you do start the game, you will just play as usual, completely ignoring this player. She doesn't exist. She doesn't get a turn. She doesn't get tiles. And you will utilize the walls in the order around the table, including using the ghost's wall. That's a question that I get a lot is, do you consume these tiles? Yeah, absolutely you do. You want to get those tiles, especially because some of them may be ones that you pass that you were like, oh shoot, I shouldn't have passed that. They'll come back around. Okay, a couple of things that people have brought up is some people feel that the courtesy pass with the ghost, it gives an unfair advantage to this player who's sitting across from the ghost because they get 1 extra pass from Sally. And so there are a couple ways to handle that. If you feel that that's unfair, my groups personally, we don't really see that as much of an advantage. We don't really care. It is what it is. But if that really bothers you in your group, it's a house rule. You can modify a house rule to fit your group. That's the point of a house rule. So if it bothers you that this player across from Sally is getting an extra advantage by having a courtesy pass with her, you can choose to eliminate the courtesy pass for everyone, meaning you just do the 6 passes of the Charleston. That's one option. The other option that I've seen done really elegantly is that each player gets an opportunity to courtesy pass with the ghost, meaning maybe she takes these 3 and then someone else courtesies 2 and then that player courtesies out of the wall, but it gives everyone an equal opportunity to get something fresh from Sally's wall, and that reduces that additional advantage. One more note is obviously the National Mahjong League rules stipulate that you cannot pass a joker during the Charleston, and no real person would pass a joker to their opponent during the Charleston that I know of. So it's kind of one of those rules that it's like, well, yeah, it's a rule not to pass a joker, but like, who's passing jokers? Sometimes Sally, our ghost, will pass a joker because she doesn't know. She's a ghost and we're pulling tiles out of her wall without looking at them. So you can handle that two ways. A lot of groups will say that any joker needs to go back into Sally's wall, and that's one way to handle it. My groups, personally, we tend to kind of like benefiting from Sally's dumb luck. So if Sally's a dum-dum, we just say yippee for us and we get to keep the jokers. But that's a rule that's set out before the game starts so that no one's surprised by that. So just make sure that you're kind of talking through that with your group when it's your first time playing with only 3 players, to say like, okay, if Sally passes us a joker, do we get to keep it or are we putting it back in her wall? And that's how you play 3-player Mahjong in 2 ways. Again, National Mahjong League rules for 3-person Mahjong is no Charleston, no courtesy pass, deal to your 3 players, start the game, and play as usual. If you love a Charleston like I do, then you will deal in your 3 players, pull out all of those passes. So you're gonna have 7 rows of 3 tiles, right? Pull out all of those passes and then do the Charleston as normal, rebuilding Sally's wall as you pass to the ghost and taking from those passes that you've put out in front as it's your turn to receive from the ghost. Hope that's helpful. Drop any comments that you have down in the comments below, and happy Mahjong, y'all.